Hello my YouTube world, this is Johnny Mow coming to you in the field, showing you some of the problems that you have to encounter when it comes to cutting grass. If you will see, there's a lot of brown stuff right in here. And you're asking, what is that stuff? It looks almost dead, it looks like it's dying. The truth is, it's called red thread. It's a disease that comes in high humidity and it's brought on by low fertility in the soil. So this is ready for another treatment. That's how I'll get rid of it. I'll grow it out of there. But there's a bigger problem than just that. There's a reason why it's there. See, when you only do a couple treatments a year, your lawn doesn't have any, let's say, vitamins to fight off stuff like this. So it constantly needs treated, and at least 4 times a year to keep disease out of it. It's a little dirty secret that fertilized guys won't tell you about. They just keep pounding along. Once you start fertilizing a lawn, you can't quit fertilizing that lawn. So they only get 2 apps, so this is going to be a problem for a long time. Now they used to get 4 apps, but there's some issues financially and they couldn't afford it, but they still wanted a decent looking lawn. So let's do the best you can. Try to straighten it up. When you walk across it, you see it's got disease pretty heavily, and we'll talk more about why that is in a later video. But these are some of the issues that you'll run into when you start fertilizing lawns. So red thread it is. Hello YouTube world, it's Johnny Mow coming to you with a special weekend video. It's raining outside, so I'm going to shoot this video. I shot a video in the field yesterday talking about some issues that arrive as you're fertilizing lawns. So I want to take this moment to do a little bit of teaching, a little bit of educating on the fertilizing end of it. I'm not done with the high efficiency mowing. I just seen some issues yesterday and wanted to further go into detail about the issue I seen. Now, in the video that you've already watched, because it's at the front of this, is me diagnosing a lawn that has something called red thread. Red thread is very prevalent around here in our 3 main grasses: Kentucky blue, rye, and fescues. Those are the 3 mixes that we have. They're very difficult grass to put up with. This lawn is a predominantly rye grass. What happened is, I'd say about 15 years ago, there was a guy who had a business in New Jersey. He was married to someone here. They built this beautiful home, a sports complex, and he had all kinds of money, and fertilized 4 times a year, mowing it, $50,000 landscape, the whole 9, was awesome to work for. Well, what happened is they got a divorce, and the money ran dry, but she needed a base package to keep the lawn looking at least good. So what happened was we dropped from 4 times a year to no times a year, until the lawn got so ugly with dandelions and everything that she decided to go to a 2-time-a-year package. This is the secret I'm going to tell you that you will never hear anyone else talk to you about. What I'm about to teach you right here will not be put out there for thought, because it ruins their business. It ruins the way they do things. And I'm sure I'm going to get flack. I'm sure I'm going to get all kinds of hate for telling you what I'm about to tell you, but it's the absolute truth. I'm going to show you why fertilizing destroys your lawn in the end if you can't keep it up. All right, so let's start from the beginning. So we told you what happened. The lawn got bad, couldn't stand the dandelion, so they installed a 2-round-a-year package. Well, here's what happens when you put nitrogen into a lawn. You put let's say 1 pound of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet. That is an abundance of nutrients going into the ground. So what happens is this: when the soil recognizes the abundance of minerals along with water, it pushes all the minerals. It doesn't just pick out nitrogen or potassium. It depletes the soil, puts it out through the grass blade. Now here's what happens. Because it pushes it so fast and so hard, it's called surge growth. So what does a lawn guy do when he comes in and sees surge growth? He's not going to sit there and triple, quadruple cut that lawn. He's going to throw it through the bagger and remove it from the property. What have you done basically when you've done this? What happens is, when you do that, you strip all the vitamins and nutrients out
of the lawn. Not only the nitrogen, but everything else that was beneficial. Everyone thinks that there's only one nutrient in the ground, and that would be nitrogen. Back in the day when I first started fertilizing, we used to have nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus. Now you can't. Now it's like just nitrogen. Everyone wants just nitrogen. So the lawns are being stripped of phosphorus, being stripped of potassium. These are key nutrients that they need to help grow and keep vitality for the lawn. Here's the secret. If someone's only getting a couple applications a year and surge growth happens, what you do when you come in and you smack, 3/4 of the blade off, you hurt the lawn. You actually weaken its immunity and it can't withstand diseases. Here in the Northeast, these cool season grasses, they're very susceptible to dollar spot, red thread, Plethysmodium blight. There's a lot of diseases that can hit it. And mainly it's because there's nothing in the soil. There's no fertility in the soil to keep them off. It's like your body trying to fight a cold with no vitamins or minerals in there. You're more susceptible. Your immune system is more susceptible to being sick without those key nutrients. Same thing with a lawn. You come in week after week in the spring, you just keep hammering it. It's growing. It's growing up 10 inches. You're cutting it down to 3.5 inches. I mean, it's just sooner or later something gives, and what gives is diseases set in. So what do you have to do? You have to come in and fertilize it again, give it some more vitamins and minerals. And what happens again? It just takes it in and pushes it up and strips it out. Well, what happens when it gets dry out? Well, the fertilizer becomes unhealthy for it because there's too much sodium or sulfur in it, and it dries it out and it can burn it out and die. This is the stuff, this is the pattern of fertilized lawns. And you're like, well, if you'd irrigate and you'd fertilize, listen, and you'd cut it every 5 days. We're in the real world, guys. This is real world stuff. Sure, if you'd irrigate it, you would cut it 2-3 times a week. But like that lawn I was on yesterday, that's an 1.5 acre lawn I was on yesterday, and I showed you that. Do you think this lady has the money for 4 to 5, applications a year at $160 a pop? And then, don't forget, we got to put grub preventative on. There's $300 right there. There's $300 for the grub application. And don't forget, mowing it a couple times a week. My goodness, not very many people can afford this. So here's the thing. I just want to teach you. If you're going to fertilize, you want to avoid surge growth. Because it's more beneficial to the lawn. If you will avoid the surge growth, maybe the grass cutter then can side discharge more and keep more nutrients in the ground. Here's the other secret. When you're dealing with fertilization, once you start, don't stop, because you're stripping all the nutrients out of the soil. I tell people, are you sure you want to do this? Because once you start, you bring on a whole other animal that can only be fixed by fertilizing forever. And what I mean by that is the only nutrients that soil is ever going to have outside of the rain, it's going to take a decade for a lawn that's been fertilized for 4 years to ever restore itself back to neutrality when you're coming back from a decade or 4 or 5 years of a 4 treatment program. Because once that soil gets used to that, that's all it has. That's why they say that our soil, that's why we have to fertilize all our fields. And we used to, the old Bible days used to have rotation system, and on the 7th year you couldn't plant in that field. And there's a reason behind that. God knows what he's doing. And all of a sudden, and we get into the fertilizing business and we just take off, we're going, we're dropping fertilizer and we're encountering diseases like this. I will fix this by fertilizing it out. It's brought on by this high humidity. This humidity is in the 70s dew point, between 60 becomes the uncomfortable part of the dew point. The temperature doesn't bother me that bad. It's when the dew point gets above 60, that's when the shirt drenching starts. When it gets up above 70, it's almost unbearable. When it gets into the 80s, you're not even supposed to be outside. 70s, they start telling old people don't go outside. 60s is uncomfortable. 70s can be dangerous if you're in poor health. And like yesterday, we're 68 dew point. We're at 93. The temp's 93. The sun's blaring down. This stuff, and we're getting thunderstorms. And it's just a recipe for these diseases to take hold. And ryegrass loves this stuff. And you know, when you mix Kentucky Blue, rye, fescue, and bentgrass all in those four, and you get them on a lawn, it just becomes a mess to cut. You know, I got some zoysia lawns. They don't do good up here in the north, but they're easy to cut. They're straight up and down. They grow straight up and they cut clean. They're easy to cut. You get into this mess, they're difficult to cut when they grow, 10 inches in a week and you're cutting them down at 3. You're destroying the lawn. You have to bag it up to make the after cut appearance look good. Having said that, know what you're talking about. Become an expert in this field. Realize what's going on. When you put fertilizer on the ground, realize the chemical makeup that's going on in that soil. Realize, I try to put slow release on because I don't want surge growth, because I know surge growth is going to cause the grass cutter to bag it up or to hurt it by cutting way too much off. And customers aren't going to, they're generally in the Northeast, they're not going to pay you to come cut it 2-3 times a week and then fertilize it for it. I really do stress this. I'm very upfront with my customers when I come to them. Brand new lawns full of weeds, and so I want it to look like that. Are you sure? Because once you start, you can't stop. I mean, your lawn will never look the same. It'll never look good. I mean, it's weedy. I understand it's weedy. You don't like the weeds. I get it. Maybe apply some weed control or something, because once you start this program, you're going to strip your soil, and the only vitamins and minerals it's going to get is the stuff that I put on. And if you get in financial hard times and you don't like it, guess what's going to happen? You're going to have a mess of a lawn. It's always going to be diseased out. It's always going to have trouble. It's going to be weak. It'll never make it. The average lifespan of a healthy lawn in the Northeast is 15 years. Once you get past 15 years, the bent grasses and the fescues start to take over the lawn. The rye and the Kentucky Blue start to die off, no matter what you do. So a lot of customers don't know this. They think, I'm fertilized, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I should have a lawn. No, the older your lawn gets, the worse it gets. So if you want sod lawn, if you want that beautiful green, rich Kentucky Blue lawn, realize what you got to do to get it. Be upfront with them. Set the expectations, let them educate them on what's going on. Because you need rain, you can't control that. They have to water, and you got to cut. Kentucky Blue needs cut 2-3 times a week in the growing seasons. You can't play around with it. You can't let it get up there. You'll hurt it. It'll get diseased out. You got to try to grow it out. Of course, you can use fungicides, but trust me, no one wants to pay for fungicides. So the answer for that question about the red thread, I will put another application on next week, and it'll green it up. It'll grow that out of there. But as soon as that fertility wears out, and they're not going to be scheduled for another app until next year, that lawn will be back to diseased out in July, probably even worse with dollar spot or something else. So that's the expectation. That's what's going to happen. It's unfortunate. But, they're happy with it striped up. It looks good from the surface, but what's going on underneath is more concerning, because they'll never have a full, healthy, vital lawn that'll last for decades because of a money situation. So be upfront with people. Be honest. Be an expert in your field. I could have used the technical names and everything for you, but I want to keep it real. I want to teach you how to do lawn care. This is my Times Johnny Moe, baby!